every single time somebody apologizes for something they don't actually want to apologize for,
Yes.
every time they don't fight back when they're being attacked, they actually end up losing. It actually does make sense, right?
Yep.
Like if you're not going to defend yourself,
I couldn't
then you're
agree
going to end up
more.
losing. And I think it's such an interesting lesson across the board because you're seeing a lot of folks in business. And again, we'll talk about ESG and wokeism, but that is a big part of the reason why the left is gaining so much momentum because they fight nonstop. And we are told that we should not fight back. And we are told that we should be quiet by whatever consultants that actually don't have nearly the type of experience that somebody like you would have, who knows that actually you do need to run against the herd sometimes to be seen.
And this is so
right?
contrary to my nature, not
Right.
to, and it really was frustrating. I mean, it was a very stressful time, not so much because of the attacks. I mean, I expected the attacks. And I told the president before, once he asked me to do this, I said, look, I'm going to get attacked for this. There's a lot of stuff they're going to come after me on. But I didn't buy it. But it was frustrating not to be able to defend myself.
Right.
And I should have not listened to the powers that be.
Yeah. Well, and the other frustrating thing is that you actually had a plan. You actually had a vetted plan. You had a good plan. Well, I sounded like a good plan, which I'd love to hear more about it, before you were nominated, which I think is somewhat rare for politicians. Politicians are very much focused on getting elected and, getting the donations in and getting all the votes in and all of that. But you actually took the time to write a plan. And I would love to hear, what was your plan? If you would have been elected as Secretary of Labor, what would that look like? What kind of changes would you make? And if you can also just explain to me what ended up happening with whoever came in instead of you. Did you see that plan actually come into fruition? And fast forward several years later, what does it look like today?
Well, I think Alex Acosta was the individual who came in. He was the nominee after me and was approved. And of course, he had problems later with the Jeffrey Epstein issues. But he got some of it done. I think what I would have done that he didn't do, but Gene Scalia did do. Gene Scalia was the Secretary of Labor after Alex Acosta, and Gene got a regulation through on ESG investing, environmental, social, and governance investing, that said when you're under a federal law called ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, that governs pension funds and 401k plans. He said, your obligation under ERISA, if you're a fiduciary, a trustee, or someone who's responsible for investing the funds of the beneficiaries of these pension funds and 401ks, in other words, retirees, people that have worked their whole life and just want to have a comfortable retirement, your obligation is to maximize the financial returns for those individuals. You can't, and the law was passed because like the Teamsters, and it was really a reaction to the Teamsters pension fund, because they were investing in hotels in Las Vegas, which turned out to be a good investment, I think, long term. But at the time, you didn't know it was going to be a good investment, and they were doing it to try and help their friends. They weren't doing it because they thought it was the most productive thing or the safest thing to do for the truckers who were retiring in the Teamsters pension fund. Well, this ESG is kind of the same thing. It's you're investing to accomplish these leftist social and political goals, not to maximize returns for investors, which is not what people normally expect. You expect the people that are responsible for your money to maximize your returns. I would have had a regulation passed within the Department of Labor, as Gene Scalia did in 2020, that made it clear that ESG investing was inconsistent with fiduciary duties under ERISA. And that would have had an impact on investment firms like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, these large investment firms that really invest trillions of dollars. It really would have changed, I think, the criteria pursuant to which they could have invested funds. Gene, he was a great Secretary of Labor. He got it passed. He did get that through, but it was near the end of the Trump administration, so he really never got the opportunity to enforce it. Had I been I would have got it through the first year, like he got it through his first year. But my first year would have given us 3 years then to try and enforce that regulation. So I think we could have made a lot of progress. When President Biden's team came in, they just said, look, we're not enforcing the Scalia regulation. We're going to put in our own regulation. And there's been a lot of press about this regulation they passed that says, oh, yeah, you can invest people's money, these 401ks or whatever. You can invest those monies to achieve these political ends, which which really is inconsistent with with traditional notions of what a trustee should do for the people that they're representing, and inconsistent with, I believe, inconsistent with the language of the Employment Retirement Income Security Act. So I think I could have gotten that done. I think that would have been a major accomplishment.